We're recording? Okay. Okay. The council has come out of our executive session of the City Council special meeting. Just for the public to know, there was a meeting about the city manager search, and there will be coming soon public engagement with our finalists for filling that position. And with that, I will close the meeting. The time is 5:33. Is this our only one?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the City Council regular meeting, September 24, 2025. The time is 5:33. I would invite everybody to stand with a moment of silence and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. A reminder for all councilors to put your microphones on. And Deputy Clerk, will you please do a roll call?
Mayor Kidman,
Here.
Vice Mayor Farrow,
Here.
Councilor Hettinger,
Here.
Councilor Preller,
Here.
Councilor Roundtree,
Here.
Councilor Augie,
Here.
Councilor Hammond.
Here.
Okay. Item number 3, the consent agenda. We have an issue with item 3.3. Is that still hold? Is that
Ready for that one, right, Kyle? Is that one okay? Yeah, it's okay to
we're
go,
good?
go
Okay.
forward.
Are we going to discuss that one separately, or are we just trying to do that in the
We just
consent
wanted to
agenda?
make sure they located a particular document for our meeting.
Okay.
So for item 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 on the consent agenda, I'm looking for a motion. Councilor Hettinger,
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda.
do I have a second? Oh, Councilor Augie.
Yes, I'd like to see number 2 and 3, C&S Company Supplemental Agreement number 1 and number 3, All Road / Coppermine Roundabout, pulled to have some discussion since there's a huge amount of money involved with both of those. So at least get that out in the public of how much money we're talking about, and not just.
Okay, Councilor Hettinger, would you like to redo your
I would love to, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity.
motion?
Mayor, I move to approve item 3.1 of the consent agenda.
A
Second.
second. Did I hear one?
Yeah.
We have a motion from Councilor Hettinger, a second from Councilor Preller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Where is, oh, there she is, on there. Okay. Public hearings. Oh, items number 2 and 3 of the consent agenda will become the first 2 items of new business under number 9. Public hearings, we have none for today. Here from the citizens, we have one blue card. Chuck, were you wanting to address us now or down at the agenda item? Okay. Reports and announcements. I have nothing to report from the mayor's office. City manager, did you have any updates or events that you wanted to report on?
Just a couple things, Mayor
Okay.
and Council. We have a P&Z director that's going to be reporting for duty on October 13th. So we're excited about that. Still interviewing with public information officer, director. Still, we're on the hunt for that, and we're still, we started the process with Duffy Group to recruit a airport manager director. And that's all I have.
Councilor Augie.
Can we have the name of the P&Z and a little bit of their background?
They're Sylvia Schaefer, thank you. Sylvia Schaefer, she's coming from Kingman. She currently has that position at Kingman, Arizona.
And her husband is
A firefighter.
fireman.
Really?
Oh, good.
Boards and commissions. Are there any council members that had a meeting with a board that would like to report? Councilor Farrell.
I was with our young youth group, and they have a new chair. Lily Krim was elected as chair, and the vice chair is Emmeline Wishman as the new vice chair. And the group is working on a presentation from all the data they collected from the public engagement about what they can do with the Para Club, and they'll be presenting in a future council. Thank you.
Councilor Augie.
Yeah, I had the honor of talking about 3 different groups, boards. First of all, the library. Michaela Lee gave an update on the programs at the library, and they've gotten a couple grants that they're going to be using for use of space in the library for a couple of the groups in there, and then also an outside deal for the use of space. And also she talked about the prom, adult prom, and there were 60 to 70 attended, and seemed like everybody had a good time, and so they want to do that again. Substance abuse. Basically, Magistrate Henninger updated that on the court cases. I was able to attend a graduation that afternoon also at 4:30, which was great. And I think they've had like 20-some, I think, graduate or something. Is that the right number? Not that many?
No, not quite that many,
Okay.
but yeah, we've had quite a few. It's been good.
Enthusiastic.
How many were at this past graduation?
As far as,
There was
There
one
was-
that graduated?
yeah, there was one. And then we had a couple from the PD there. And then Chief Jones, and the other thing that Henninger, Magistrate Henninger pointed out that a lot of the offenses and stuff like that are a result of alcohol abuse, which I don't think is too much of a stretch for anybody to believe. And then Assistant Chief Jones gave an update on some police operations and stuff like that. Talked about National Night Out, and the substance abuse people or group are going to be there also have a table there talking about substance abuse and that type of thing, and with our T-shirts on. So us that are going there will have T-shirts, and they're going to be giving out information and stuff. And then there's also was a discussion on having an alcohol education training coming back to Page. I attended one years ago, and so it was very interesting, and for the businesses and stuff like that that serve alcohol and stuff. And then economic development, Judy France from the Chamber and Debbie Moses from the Conservancy and the museum gave updates on their respective businesses, and Debbie reported that actually August was an uptick in coming to the Conservancies, their different locations and stuff like that, which was very gratifying. So
August showed improvement over the previous months.
yes, yeah. So in Marble Canyon Lodge, just throw in there, from the Canyon Club, August was a really good month for them also. They were really down, obviously, for the fire, but had a really good month, so we're seeing some good things.
Thank you. Are there any others since our last meeting? Okay, thank you. Unfinished business, number 8.1, we have a data center presentation. So I will throw that over to Keith or back at the tech desk.
Good
Welcome,
Good
Keith.
afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to present to City Council. And we're really, really excited to tell you about our proposed data centre in Page. Am I okay to share my screen?
Yes. Yes, I'm being told yes from somewhere.
Everyone can see that.
Yes, thank you.
Great. So, sorry, I'll just tell you a little bit about us. So, we're Ruski, we're a wholly owned entity of Hollybrook, one of the group of companies that are associated with Huntley. We've got a 40-year track record of developing the UK, Ireland, Poland and the US. And to give a bit of scale to what we're doing, we have a development pipeline of just under $3.5 billion. We work really closely with landowners and particularly municipal authorities to maximise value towards land. And we're experienced in land acquisitions, obtaining entitlements and construction. Ruski is a relatively new endeavour for us over the last 18 months, where we have been working with our data centre operator partners to acquire and manage entitlement process to enable data centre development globally. We, as I said, we acquire the land opportunities, we work with local authorities to secure our zoning and planning, and we obtain all the necessarily permitting and entitlements to allow that to occur. We do that through collaboration and working with municipalities and utility companies to bring that forward. And innovation and sustainability is a guiding principle of what we do. Partners, Tasha Harvey from Arab will tell you a little bit more about how the impact of the sustainability impacts these data centers. Just to give you some scale on the projects that we're working on in the UK and Europe, we have acquired 14 sites in 6 countries with a just under 3.9 gigawatt power capacity, with an overall development value of 40 billion. And we're working with our partners to bring those projects forward. And they're spread all across Europe, between UK, Portugal, France, Germany, Austria and Italy. In the US, we've got positions on 4 sites in 4 states, just under 13,000 acres. Like everything, the power is greater in the US, and we've got 5.6 gigawatts of power that we are in control of, and again with a development value of just shy of 50 billion. And those sites range from Florida, a site just outside Nashville, a site in Austin, and one in Maricopa. We've done this by assembling a team in the US. Arup are our lead engineering partner, and they're a global engineering firm with extensive experience in this type of project. We're working with Dibble on the civil engineering and site planning, and Bond Dickerson on legals and zoning. I'll just pass you over to Tasha, who will tell you a little bit more about Arup and what we're doing with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Keith, and it's great to meet everyone here on the council and the city members. I am going to share my screen and just give a little bit of background to who ARAP are. Some of you may not be familiar, and also a little bit of background on data centers and our approach to data centers when we're helping clients such as Keith. So specifically hoping that we can talk about the opportunities as they pertain to Page. Through the context of ARAP, we're also a global firm, so we're sort of matching Keith in that breadth and depth of experience around the world. But more importantly, we're coming into all of our projects with a long-term experience since the 90s with data centers. So we've seen the evolution of the industry, and we have the knowledge to share experience and resources across this sector. And we're able to really apply an environmentally conscious sort of lens to everything that we do. And in particular, here in the US, we have several offices sort of in the Southwest. I'm personally based in the Los Angeles office, so I cover a lot of both the Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada areas, as well as Southern California. And I think you guys will be also interested to know that, data centers, while they're all over the US, Arizona also already has data centers, and the little blue dots kind of represent where those hubs of data centers are today. So Keith is interested in bringing or expanding sort of that opportunity to Page. And the truth of the matter is that in today's business environment, we really have to think about business as a part of the society in which it sits. And that society is sitting and calling upon resources in its own environment. So that is how we're going to look at developing a data center. These three things are no longer able to be picked apart and looked at separately. And there is real world evidence of this, because all of the major players in the data center world have publicly published decarbonization goals that will allow them to be better neighbors. So while there may be certainly concerns for the first data center in a community, we want to make sure that everybody starts from the same understanding that being a good neighbor is really at the forefront of the effort. So just for example, AWS, Microsoft, and Equinix are some of the largest players in the data center space, and these are some of their own goals that they set out. But what happens inside of a data center? Well, really at the heart of the data center is a space for computers or servers, and those servers are stacked on top of each other inside of a rack. So we've got a rack represented here, and the racks are arranged in rows. And the challenge with a data center is getting enough cooling and enough power to each of those rows to keep the computer running. That computer may be supporting your cat videos, or it may be supporting your latest request to ChatGPT. Whatever the demand that we as a society are putting on the cloud or on AI, that server is trying to either calculate it, compute it, or store it for us. And around the periphery of that server room, there's going to be backup power generation, there's going to be parts and services, there's going to be business units that are supporting that server room running efficiently, as well as a high level of security to protect that data within the data and the operations within the facility. So those are the typical things you can expect from every data center. And all of that can be done with a very conscious sort of approach. Here at ARAP, we're looking to do not only bill of materials and cost of a facility, but also the carbon accounting of a facility. So what is the real impact to the world when we develop a facility? And one really important element of doing a carbon accounting exercise is to understand for how long should this building be considered viable. Decommissioning of data centers is not something that we see happen often at all. And in fact, we work for repeat clients in facilities that have been there for 30, 40 years, and they continue to build out, refresh, upgrade infrastructure and servers within the facility, but the facility itself maintains its use for many, many years. And so when we do the carbon accounting, we're also taking a long view that these buildings are around for 50 or more years, which is very typical. So when one thinks about the outside of a data center, this is certainly an aesthetic. That's just an example of how a data center can fold nicely into its environment. And I want to make sure that I share with you all of the different considerations outside of the data center that go into this development. So air permitting being of utmost importance for any emissions that might come from the data center, which obviously are going to be much better than a widget factory or something like a meat packing plant. The impact to the neighbors from an emissions point of view will be much better than those kinds of things. We're also looking at the sound impact to neighbors. So data centers certainly have cooling equipment that runs 24/7. And we are always looking to comply with or do better in some cases than any city ordinance or county requirements for the ambient noise being omitted from the property line. So we're very conscious of that. We are also considering any archaeological finds, any natural resource impacts, whether that be flora or fauna, as well as any opportunities to increase the biodiversity on a project site through its landscape. And its aesthetic is usually improved through such opportunities, whether that be berms, so natural solutions for noise containment and or aesthetic. You can see the whole host of other things we're considering, including available power here, which I won't go through everything, but the availability of power is a big question mark for data centers across the whole of the U.S. And it really is the fact that we're doing lots of studies for all of our data center clients. Because today, when you talk about developing a data center, you're also usually pairing it with an opportunity for power generation. So this is an example study that I've done for some of my data center clients around hydrogen as an alternative greener fuel, as a swap out for diesel generators, for example. So any kind of alternative that can bring reliability not only to the data center, but also prop up maybe strained or in some cases aging grid for a community is really an asset, not just for the data center, but can be a shared asset. So if you imagine sort of your best case scenario, it's really one that data centers are able to give back to the community and their local ecology. And I will just leave you with a thought that I don't think you have to just imagine it, that it certainly can be done. And one real world example of that is the Citibank data center that Arup have designed in Frankfurt, which was the world's first LEED Platinum certified data center. So this is just one example of hundreds and probably thousands of data centers that we have worked with our clients with, but I just wanted to bring that sort of flavor and understanding to everybody. So Keith, back over to you.
Thanks very much, Tasha. I'll just pick up there again. Sorry. And the development of data centers has very, very recently become the absolute priority for the government, and the bringing forward and winning the AI race is of utmost critical national infrastructure, which it would be great to play a part of. So how does that fit in Page, and what does your data center look like? This is an aerial image of the proposed location. out to the south of the city. And we're in the very, very initial stages of the project. But the intention would be to propose a 1 gigawatt when it's fully built out data center, and that would ramp up over the life of the project. Currently, we have a parcel of around about 500 acres identified, and once the final test fits and the engineering and all of the studies are done, that parcel would be firmed up and likely to be tightened up when landscape and all the rest of the mitigation factors which Tasha has spoken about. Our brief to Tasha and the team at Arup and the rest of our advisors are for this data center to be sustainably powered, so that we're not a burden on the grid, and as Tasha said, that the technology that would be there to support the data center would actually support and add power into the grid. The technology is evolving all the time with the cooling, and I know water usage is a concern both in Page and around all data centers. That technology is moving almost on a monthly basis, and we're moving closer to a closed loop and a liquid cooled data center, which means that there is water-free or zero water design for the cooling. We're obviously within a dark sky community, and we want to make sure that our data center would respect that. So again, the lighting and the impact on the surrounding environment would ensure that, and making sure that we're in an absolute beautiful part of the country, and making sure that our design and our landscape is respectful to that landscape. But I guess one thing we want to be really, really strong about is that this is an absolute once in a generation opportunity for Page. This type of development is ideal for rural town growth. This isn't a 2 gigawatt coal-fired power station that's pumping out fumes and creates all the environmental issues and puts a strain on the city. This type of development provides resilience to the city economy. It would absolutely help revitalize the city with tax dollars. The contribution and the investment that the data center and the associated work would provide to the existing utilities would help support those aging utilities. And whilst this is a major development, this has a low impact on services. So whilst there are great and there are a number of jobs, they're not jobs that are going to put a burden on the local community. And just to throw the numbers out there, because the numbers are really eye-opening. We'd estimate that at full build-out for a gigawatt data center, that the inward investment into the city for the pure construction of that data center would be around about, on today's costs, around about 10 billion. That would generate around about 500 million of annual power sales to PUE. And sales taxes alone off of that and the ongoing power usage would be at least 100 million during the construction phase, and 40 million annual sale taxes. So these are absolutely transformational numbers that shouldn't be ignored and should be really carefully considered. And there's social impacts as well, that we'd estimate that around about 500 skilled jobs would be created on completion. And really, really importantly, there would be significant opportunities for training and development of young people locally, so they don't have to move away from the community. They can stay local with really, really well-paid jobs and support the local community. The knock-on effect is that would also create at least 1,000 jobs in the local supply chain. And again, I've just mentioned there that the support for the upgrade of city utility and infrastructure would result in reduced power and water costs because of the significant investment that we'd be making in the existing development. And broader, and for the wider community, the wider business community, this creates all sorts of offshoots of real estate and development opportunities around the city of Page, and it really adds significant value to the city of Page itself in being the largest landowner of land in the city, and all that brings. And that's me. I welcome any questions that anyone may have.
Okay, I'll open up for questions and then we'll go to our blue card after the council. Councilor Augie.
Yeah, a couple real quick. How many acres is your actual footprint that you're looking at for this particular facility?
Unfortunately, we're too early to determine that as yet. We would expect the data center itself to be maybe at full build out, because there'll be a number of halls of around 200 acres, with then supporting landscape and infrastructure around that.
Okay. The other thing, everything I've read is that the promises are, like you said, 500 jobs, but in actuality, 30 to 50. Is that correct? I don't see 500 needed to be watching every CPU or anything. All of the studies that we've done when we're working with our operators, that there may be 50, 60 specific tech jobs, but there will be security, there'll be office staff, there will be ancillary staff. So the knock-on effect within the facility would reach the numbers that we're projecting. Okay, I still find that kind of not believable, but okay.
Any other questions? Councilor Roundtree.
So I have people that I know of in Utah, and they had told me about a project in Eagle Mountain. And so I contacted council members from Eagle Mountain, Utah, and asked them a lot of questions. And one of them was, there's concern from our citizens about sound. And when I talked to this person, and I said, so are you aware of the data centers? And she said yes. And I said, so what about the sound as a citizen? And then a friend that I know that lives close to there, and they said, what are you talking about? And I said, I hear that they're noisy. And they said, well, we don't hear them when we drive by. And this other young lady said, well, I've catered and I've been there. And she said, I don't understand what you're talking about by sound. And I said, I've heard that they're very noisy. And she said, well, if you go inside one of them, but when you're outside, you hear nothing. And so my question is about the sound. And then when I reached out to the council member, she said that their first data center did take a lot of water, but within 2 years they switched to the technology that you're talking about, and now they're having their fourth one that'll be opening up within the year. And they said no, it was closed loop, and it didn't use but very, very little water, basically nothing. And then she said that they also created electricity or power for their community, which was a huge asset for them. So how would that, can you go into more detail about that? About how it would create power for our community? And then I had one other question, and that is, a citizen took me driving out at the area that you were looking for in an ATV, And I know that you have not physically been here, but I think that there's a space a little more south and east of where you're looking that might be actually very perfect for you, and our community would even accept more readily if it was located in that spot. So if you might be open to looking just a little more south and east of where you're presently looking. So I was wondering if that's on the table.
Yeah, if I work backwards. So the permanent location, absolutely, we're not fixed on the location. When we came and we viewed the overall area with our operators, that part of town was the general location suited a data center development, but what the specifics of the location, we're absolutely open to work with the city to make sure it works for everyone. The power for the community, we are working on a number of projects. They're mainly European projects. We haven't had the request on our US projects, whereby the waste energy and the waste heat that we're producing is used back in for community projects, but it's whether it's for heating swimming pools or there are various different uses which it can be used for, and but absolutely we'd be willing to work with the community and the council to figure out a way that we could do that. Tasha, it's probably better for you to answer the technical queries.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll pick up with the power and then the sound, and then you can remind me if I forgot something. Right now, in just about every state where data centers want to be developed, there is a constraint on how fast or how quickly utilities can even bring the power to the data center. And so that's another reason that is driving power generation that is coupled with data center development. And that has been taking shape in many different forms. So many different fuel types, many different technologies, runs the whole gamut of options. So I think Keith and his team are looking at many different solutions that could be deployed with a consciousness that they're close to town, that they're able to probably, work out some kind of partnership with the local utility. And then for the sound, there will absolutely be audible sound if you're stood outside the data center from the fans running that will pull in the air that gets cooled and then pushed to the servers. So that is something I would absolutely expect, but we have ways of mitigating how that sound leaves the building so that it isn't encroaching upon the neighbors in any sort of meaningful way. So I would never say that there won't be any sound. I think you should expect there to be sound, but it is very possible to keep it within any kind of ordinance or requirements. Was there another element that I was supposed to touch on? Or did
That was all
cover
of
it?
mine, thank you.
We'll go to Councillor Hammond.
Okay, thanks. I have a few questions, so bear with me. If we can circle back to the sound question a bit more. I hear you saying that you can mitigate the noise to some extent, but can you tell me more? Can you be a little bit more specific? Like how low can you get the sound? Where exactly is the impact?
So there are many mitigation measures, including things like natural berms or screen walls or other aesthetic walls that can be deployed if you're very close to, say, a residential development. Those are the kind of mitigations that we would use. But if you're next to another industrial development, the data center may very well be the lesser sound contribution. So it really depends who is adjacent to you, what sound are they producing, and what is the impact of the sound you're producing onto them. So I don't have specific numbers because we don't have a specific design yet, but that is something that we start looking at very early, because we'll start looking at the mechanical solution for the cooling and then the sound based upon that and any of the backup power generation that may produce as well.
Okay, great. And then that kind of dovetails into talking about power. You've addressed some of this, but it sounds like there are a ton of options available for power generation, both primary as well as backup. And I think for me to be comfortable moving forward with this project, I would like some more specifics. So can you give us those? Like, what kind of power generation do you see happening at this project, and how do we get that on paper so that we know what we're actually getting into?
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah.
So, again, it's really, really hard to give the specifics because the timescales which we're talking about between rezoning, build permit, environmental permits, by that point, the landscape may have and will likely to have changed about the methods of power generation. But we're seeing hydrogen, we're seeing gas, albeit we're working with Arup specifically because we want a sustainable energy solution, and Arup's corporate I don't know what the word is, Tasha. That your corporate governance won't allow you to work on dirty fossil fuels. So we'd be looking at any form of sustainable green energy supply.
Okay, and then if we can circle back to the jobs question. In your presentation, it looked like there was going to be several skilled jobs as well as the ancillary jobs. But I think that the question that we're all struggling with is our current workforce. I mean, we all want to see young people in Page grow up and have career opportunities where they don't have to leave to get a job. But there's not like a training pipeline that would provide the type of skilled workers that you would need. So I want to know if you have plans for bridging that gap. Or are we really looking at the job benefit to us being more that ancillary, secondary, and tertiary effect?
I would really, really hope not to be the case. Again, I think the lead time that we're talking on a project like this, it gives sufficient time to work with our operator partners, to work with the local community college, local universities, to create a program which would allow the younger members of the community to be trained so that when these data centers do come live, they are trained and they're able to work and take advantage of those opportunities as much as possible. People don't want to, when I say people, the operators do not want to be bringing new people into town. Wherever possible, they want to employ local people. They want that investment to stay local and the benefits to be felt locally.
Okay, thank you, and thank you everybody for your patience. I have 3 more questions. You may already know from discussing with other folks in the community that housing is a huge concern for ours with our current workforce, let alone if you're planning to bring in a temporary or permanent workforce. So I want to know what your thoughts are on addressing that housing, both for your own workforce and also in this vein of giving more to the community than you take.
Absolutely, and I think that's a really, really important part. So I think it does 2 things. We have got a draft condition in the contract at the moment, or a draft condition that's been discussed, whereby there will be an obligation on us and the operator to provide housing for any workers who do come into town. That would be an absolute obligation built into the contract. We would like to work with the city on providing that, so to allow us to buy at market rate zoned land for residential, that we could develop the homes for those people, both people within the community and people coming in from outside.
Okay, and as we move forward, I'll just say for me, I would like to see the type of housing get a little bit more specific moving forward. You probably know from our history, this town was originally built as a boom town for a giant construction project, and a ton of trailers were put in, which are still here. And that's not really like the kind of housing that we're looking for. So yeah, hopefully you can help us modernize the availability of housing if we move forward on this project.
Absolutely, and we would love to do that.
Cool. And then next, can you address water for us? As you know, we're in a desert. Water is very challenging. You've talked about this closed loop system. We're moving closer to a solution there, but we're not quite there yet. So take me from A to Z. How are you actually going to close that gap? And what are you going to do in the short term, I guess?
Yeah, so there is already closed loop cooling solutions. So those exist. But I'm sure that Keith is talking about that they're becoming better and better. How that closed loop is sort of once you get into the data center with the cooled water that circulates around the data center. How we cool that water from the outside can be done through a few different methods. So there are totally air-cooled chillers, there are water-cooled chillers, and there are adiabatic cooled chillers, which is the hybrid between the two. And there are absolutely plenty of data center examples throughout Arizona that use totally air-cooled chillers, which means that we're not pulling water from the municipality in order to cool the closed loop. So that's absolutely something that is doable.
Okay.
And then from a wider point of view, we know that the infrastructure in the city needs to be upgraded, and we're absolutely committed to playing our part in that upgrade to work with the city on that.
Okay, just two more questions, I promise. Our location may be unique to other projects you've worked on because of our proximity to Native American nations. We want to be respectful of our neighbors, neighboring communities, that sort of thing. I had hoped that we could actually include our county supervisor, local Litchi chapter president, and Navajo Nation president in this proposal, but that didn't happen. So I'd like to know if you have experience working with other nations, or how you see us being able to bring them into this conversation earlier rather than later.
I think it goes back to the point that Tasha made earlier, that we want to be a great and respectful neighbour, whether that be members of the community that are within the city of Page, or whether they're members of the community who are in the nation. We personally haven't. Sorry, I say us. I can't speak for Tasha, but we haven't personally worked with Native American communities, but we have worked with lots of communities all over Europe to make sure that these opportunities are available to those communities that may not necessarily always have the opportunities. So again, things like job opportunities, we'd be really pleased to work with the local chapter to assist in education, to allow that to be taken advantage of.
Okay, thank you. And actually, I think my last question is better as a comment when we get into discussion as a council. I will just say thank you very sincerely for coming and doing this public presentation. That's really important to us. And I'm also really glad to hear that you are flexible on location, just because from your standpoint, you may be looking at this development very practically, but for us, with tourism being a huge portion of our existing economy and community identity, we don't want to give up land that's too close to that scenic area where most people make their living now. So I'm glad to hear that you are flexible and open to new suggestions.
Okay.
Councillor Hettinger.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand that we're early in this process. So what I'm wondering is, when do you start partnering with a specific end user, your Microsoft, your AWS, Meta? And are they involved in the design and sustainability guidelines that you guys do, or do you have full control over that and they come in once the data center is completely built?
So we're in advanced discussions with a partner. Unfortunately, we can't disclose that. We'd be metaphorically taken out and shot for it. It's we're under strict NDA, but they are a household name, and we are aware of their sustainability requirements, and we're working to those, and they reflect our brief.
Awesome, thank you.
Councillor Preller and then Councillor Augie.
Thank you for coming in and giving this presentation, giving us all some time to ask some questions as they pop up. I've just got a couple here I've got written down. So I was looking at the map of kind of where your guys' other data centers are at, and they're much closer to population centers than Page's. We're kind of remote, and we're kind of rugged country to do anything in. What's the effect of, or what's the plan for bringing the data into the data center? Where would that be coming in from? Are there concerns about latency, any sort of that sort of stuff?
So at the moment, we don't have any latency concerns. What we find is that to any upgrade that may be required to the fiber network is at the thin end of the wedge for the infrastructure upgrades that are needed, and we haven't found that to be a problem on any sites, albeit this is I guess the more remote of them all.
Well, your fiber optics running at the speed of light, I don't anticipate there being any upgrades on that in the coming future. Then you mentioned that this is going to add power to the grid. My concern is that one of the biggest draws for this happening for the city is the both the tax as well as the power revenue we'd be getting from that. If you guys are planning on putting power on the grid, that would mean you stop buying, which kind of greatly reduces the incentive of us building a data center. What's kind of the thought on that?
So we've discussed this previously with city staff, and we have tentatively agreed that if we do provide a private wire solution, so a private power generation solution for the data center, that we would pay the equivalent of the sales tax to PUE on the usage.
But you would be anticipating installing enough generation capacity to power your own facility?
We haven't gone that far, but if there was any on-site generation, whether it be 10% or 100%, we would ensure that the city didn't lose out on the revenue stream because of that.
Okay. And then I appreciate the explanation on the closed loop system. That sounds like far less water usage, though it is still some water usage. That being said, that energy has to be dumped somewhere, so that would still be launched into the air through a bunch of fans. I'm sure there's some designs to mitigate noise upwards and whatnot. That's just still a concern that I have for the community. Let's see. The local supply chain jobs that you had on one of your slides, you said 1,000. Is that 1,000 on top of the 500 that would be involved with? So you're saying the city would grow about 1,500 after construction is completed?
All of the studies that we've had done with economic development consultants are that a 1 gig data center, which is where we'd hope to be on full build out, would support those job numbers.
Okay, so every data center employee is going to create 2 additional jobs in
Yeah.
Do you happen to have kind of an approximation of how many of what jobs would be created here and kind of what the pay ranges of those are?
I don't to hand, but I'm happy to share those afterwards. What we do find is that around about 50% of the on-site skill jobs are in the higher 20% of the pay bracket, so $100,000, $120,000 a year plus, and the rest are I guess more regular paying jobs.
Okay, thank you. I'm only asking that because we kind of got to figure out how much those jobs are going to be making here and spending here, and increasing our tax base. Thank you.
Councilor Augie.
Yeah, just a real quick couple stuff I've read on the air-cooled system. They always say in hot climates, they're not practical. I mean, we get here 105 degrees. I'm not sure what type of, by the 101, last month, my daughter took me to one that's along the 101 freeway in Phoenix, and the noise, it was just like a hum, and that's it. But I don't know how their cooling system was down there. But the other thing is, just a real quick thing to kind of put the sound issue to bed. We have an air raid siren on our old public building here in town, right across the street. When it's running, we did a test with a PD, with a decimal meter, and it was 105 decibels directly across the street. When you went 1 block, it was 85 decibels. So do you have a decimal? I'm sure these studies have been done on data centers, so because the sound issue is we're not the first ones to ask this. So do we have a kind of a definitive answer on the decibels noise?
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure in your reading you're also and in your experiment there, you've proven that sound dissipates in a logarithmic scale, right? So it's not if you take one more step you get the same amount reduction. It's if you take one more step you get 10 times more reduction. So to that point, the amount of space between the building or the fan and the property line really impacts what somebody at the property line experiences, whether it's barely perceivable hum or something much louder. But we're definitely talking about, because 90 decibels for prolonged periods of time are harmful to your ears. Right. So we're talking about being under that threshold by far, because most cities have a regulation that is far below that at the property line. So it is very common for us to bring it quite a lot below that threshold. But again, the distance between the building and the property line really matters, and the exact cooling solution, so which fans, really matters to that calculation as well.
Okay, kind of a good and an evasive answer. So I guess you're saying that it isn't that discernible. We're looking at, I know you said property line, but 100 yards, 500 yards, you know, that's what, it just seems to me, you guys have done studies, and you could tell, I mean, different lengths away from the building. As I said, when I was down in Phoenix in August, went to one, it wasn't loud at all. It was just like a hum from outside and stuff, which wasn't no problem. But so, just based on my just cursory thing.
If I could, so I was actually talking about this point with one of our operators this morning. They just done checks on their most recent one, and they were at 45 decibels at the boundary. I don't know whether that, to be honest, I'm not an acoustic engineer, so it's difficult for me to know whether that's loud or not loud, but it sounds like a lot less than the air raid siren.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely.
Okay, I have a quick question for you, Keith. It has to deal with the issue of power generation. So can you tell us about our unique location with the crisscrossing of huge power lines from the Navajo generating station and how that makes your job of procuring power easier or harder? And whether it has to be locally produced or if it can come from somewhere else?
The benefit of Page is that there is significant infrastructure already here, which allows flexibility if there is power in the grid. So if there is power in the grid, the infrastructure will allow that power to get to Page without significant upgrade. Similarly, if we're able to find a sustainable power generation method that we can put on site, we are able then to sell it either to PUE or back into the grid and export it easily. So that existing infrastructure is one of the major benefits of a data center being in Page.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Tom or Councilor Preller?
You mentioned something about carbon neutrality in line with what your client's policies are. Those policies shift over time, so that doesn't really nail down anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean carbon neutral to the locality, right? That means there could be carbon offsets purchased to plant trees in Brazil to make up for the waste heat put out here, right?
Tasha?
Well, I did not say carbon neutrality. I don't know, Keith, if that was something that you mentioned. Not that I recall.
Yeah,
we did talk about carbon reduction.
In the presentation, I think, excuse me, Councilor Preller, I just want to back you up on this. There was discussion about other centers that Arup had worked with that were carbon neutral or carbon negative even, or I think they were goals, actually, industry goals. Am I right, Councilor Preller? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Yes. So I had some of the Microsoft, AWS, and Equinix corporate goals shown on the slide. Those are not particular to any one building, but it shows that they're motivated across their assets. So I guess that's what you're asking about, correct?
Yeah.
Councilor Roundtree.
So I have one last question. So when I spoke with the other two communities, the one community said that, I said, what are the benefits the negatives that you don't like, and what were the benefits? And she really said, I can't think of any negatives. She goes, I thought I had a lot of negatives. She had a lot of concerns when they first went in, but now that they're facing their fourth one, she said she even wrote us a letter and couldn't really include anything negative. But she said one of her greatest surprises were that Meta happens to be in their community, and then they have CTS, Tract, and Google. And she said they put so much into their communities, like 4.5 million into local causes, into their schools, into their different organizations in town. And she said that they now have a contract on some of the newer ones that were built where they do have to give so much back to the community. That's not something that we've approached with you. She said she doesn't have it with all of their data centers, but some of them are required to give back to the community so much each year. And she said that was such a nice surprise that they had not expected when they started down the data center alley. So what can we expect? First of all, I respect that you can't tell us who might be using our services, but is that something that we can expect? Is that something that we should have been asking in our contract, or?
I think all of our operators are responsible neighbours and are good neighbours, and that means paying their fair share as contribution to local facilities. I can't see that it would be an issue to have an obligation to make a X, whatever that X is, contribution per annum, and we'd be happy to work with the city to figure that out.
Thank you.
Okay, one last quick question for you, Keith. What time is it where you are?
It's 2:40
In the morning?
In the morning. So there is dedication.
Chuck,
Thank you for
did
asking.
you want to address the council at this time? And then we'll let you go, Keith.
No, thank you.
As part of the citizen speak, I have to tell you that my name's Chuck Straub and I am a Page resident. I have a 3-minute time limit, so I can't really have a discussion with you, but I have this written out and then you can take these points however you want to do it. And a lot of this has already been touched on. One of the big ones was, why has this site been selected? This would seem to be prime commercial property, not necessarily needed for an industrial application. Why not next to it at the industrial park? If water and electricity are a huge concern, why not use the site of the defunct Navajo generating station? There's a 500 kV and a 230 kV switchyard immediately adjacent, and there's water lines from the lake pump that run right up to that site. Why not the property where the old city landfill was located, which is on the other side of the river, away from town? It has direct access to Highway 89. It's near electrical transmission lines. And the whole sound issue there would be non-existent because nobody lives out there. One other question I wanted to throw in was, could the power be generated elsewhere, fed into the grid quo, whatever that fancy word is, quid pro quo. So back to my original question, why was this site proposed and not one of these others? Thank you.
Are we able to respond to the citizen comment?
Yeah,
Since it was,
it's on the agenda.
okay, so did you want to respond to any of that, Keith?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the bigger question, why Page, and I think we've mentioned that because of the existing infrastructure and why that works for us. We did actually review a number of locations around the city with city staff when we approached the city about developing a data center. And there are various implications about the, for example, the site on the other side of the river near the power transformers, that it was near BLM land, and there would be concerns about getting permitting over there. Again, we reviewed the Navajo site, but of course that would take the data center out of the city and would lose all of those great benefits that we're talking about, would take them away from the city. So we we considered a location within the city limits was more appropriate. And if there, with regard to the power generation, if there was a location close by that suited the power generation, the potential power generation better, we absolutely would consider it.
Josh, did you have a chart that shows the plot of land? It's not over by 89, correct? Can you?
We drew it on the map over there. It's the black hash marks is actually not, exact, but pretty dang close to the legal description that's included in the contract right now. And then it's showing up on the
there it is.
on the screens as well.
It's not showing on my screen,
Oh, it's not on yours?
which means it's not on anybody's at home either.
That,
See. He's working on it.
Okay.
So that is tucked over there, is right next to the industrial park, yes? Except for
It's-
with the little mesa in between them?
Yeah, there's that little gap there, and then the mesa, and then it's just on the it's on the west side of Big Five. It follows the wash, so the wash is not included in any of that, and then runs down towards 89, but does not go all the way to 89.
Okay. Councilor Roundtree.
and so Keith, what the site that he mentioned was Industrial Park is just east. Staff can show you where that's at.
Oh, I see, there's a bigger spot over there.
And that, yeah, he can see where he's kind of putting the arrow or whatever. And that area, how many acres might be there, because there are sand and there's berms and stuff that are high enough that I think would really keep the sound into that area.
And the power line goes across there as well.
And the power line goes right across there. So you can see right where the power line goes across. So you'd still be right there with the power line. That was what I was suggesting, that a citizen had driven me out there, and I thought that it would be a really great area to put the data center.
And I guess we would absolutely be willing to consider that. It's when we work with our partner, in an ideal world, we're looking for up to 500 acres in one parcel, and when we've done an approximate measure of the area that between the mesa and the industrial park, we weren't able to achieve that area. But in principle, we're flexible, but we weren't able to find the quantity of area to bring the operator or to get the operator comfortable in that location.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for staying up so late and sharing all of this with us.
They have drawn there.
And what? Okay, I think we're done then, and I wish you speedy sleep, Keith.
Get a cup of Joel.
Thank you very much, all.
Okay. Next item is the moved consent agenda, item 3.2, C&S Company Supplemental Agreement No. 1. We're wanting to have a discussion about that item.
I would just like Kyle to kind of give a rundown on this, since probably most people haven't gone into the agenda and into the, and read on this. So just kind of do a quick background on this one, and also the Hall Road one.
Yes, good evening, Mayor. It's a pleasure to be with you and with the council. Just as the background states, as a reminder, last council meeting, the council approved the supplemental agreement for the FAA for funding of this additional work done on the Phase 2 RSA grading project. Just as the background reads, Phase 2 of the RSA grading project included the replacement of the VASI navigation aids with PAPI navigation aids. Really quick, the FAA covered that portion of the project, but they did not include any of the kind of the technical support on that, construction management or any aspects of that. I'm not sure quite why. You got, the FAA is a lot of different departments, and clearly they don't talk to each other in any aspect. So in order to keep that project moving, we had C&S kind of cover that work. The FAA, meaning the ADO office, which administers the grant, has agreed to cover those costs, which they provided us with that supplemental grant agreement, which you approved or accepted last council meeting. And this is accepting the work that C&S or on-call engineers provided for us. All of this is completely reimbursable under that supplemental grant agreement that you approved last council meeting. So any questions I can answer for you at this time?
Okay, let's also do the next item, and then we can do a motion for them together. Hall Road, Coppermine Roundabout.
So this one's a little more lengthy. We have our on-call engineers, Ardura. We've been working on kind of this project for a while, and it started with the opportunity we had at chasing a RAISE grant with the federal government. We were awarded that grant from the previous administration, only to have that grant rescinded. We did plan for this project in our expenses in our capital improvements for the fiscal 26 budget to the tune of $600,000. We discussed with the city manager at the time, Mr. Caldwell, to proceed ahead for this project. So we continued on. We'd already had a traffic survey done by Ardura, and we put together some options and discussed kind of the next steps, which is to perform the surveys for the entire length of Coppermine Road, for the entire length of Hall Road, and for the intersection there. Working in conjunction with some other aspects to address our stormwater issues, our lighting, sidewalks, pedestrian access for the full length, and road construction. So this project, which is a lot of money for this design project, it covers quite a bit of roadway, 3 miles of Hall Road, several miles of Coppermine Road, and an intersection potential roundabout there at Coppermine and Hall Road. So this project is going to be quite lengthy and quite in-depth. So we're hoping to address a lot of different things with this project, design project at this time. So they provided us with an ASA, and for the amount of about $600. And let's see if I got I didn't write the amount, just $676,460 in there.
Quick question, didn't we discuss or approve another, for I think the same thing, $900,000? Or was I mistaken on a prior one that on the Hall Road deal going
Sidewalks.
down to?
That was
Yeah,
sidewalks
there were some other projects I think fit in for some sidewalks. There was a sidewalk that we've already awarded, a project along Para, that we've
Right.
discussed with them that could be incorporated in this design. There was also some discussion about a future sidewalk along the Barnyard area from Elk Road to Sand Hill that will be incorporated in this design that we're going to push forward ahead at this time. So this is more of the holistic, we're going to design everything.
So this 900 plus the 600?
No, the 900 is for design and construction of that project.
Okay.
This is just design of the full length of Hall Road, full length of Coppermine.
Okay, I'm just, I just wanted to make sure that people are aware of what the dollar amounts are. And the airport was another 130 some thousand, right? That's refundable or?
Yes, reimbursable.
Reimbursable.
Councillor Hettinger and then Councillor Preller.
Thank you, Mayor. So the grant that was rescinded, was that to cover the design costs or was that to cover construction?
That was just for construction at this time.
Okay.
And to give a little background on that, the idea is that grant would have positioned us for future RAISE grants / build grants.
Thank you.
Councillor Preller.
I just want to say I love that this is happening. Hall Road is in need of some TLC, and who doesn't love a good roundabout? Anyone that's tried turning left out of there is going to benefit from that. I put a bumper sticker on my car that says honk if you love roundabouts, and then just tried to turn left, and you wouldn't believe the feedback I got. But I've seen a couple good car crashes on that exact intersection of people coming up the hill, down the hill, doing the school run, whatever. I think time alone of the saved crashes and police man hours cleaning up that intersection, it will pay for itself. Never mind the added safety and time that the whole community is getting. So hooray that we're doing that. I just have some questions about parts 2 and 3, if you're okay with me skipping ahead to parts 2 and 3, tasks 2 and 3 of this. The conceptual design of the new collector roadway and the design access culvert parcel, it's a parcel number. So are we for sure certain that we want a collector roadway in that location, or is that something we might want to hang on to a new planning and zoning person on? And I guess on the other one,
Are you talking about for the roundabout?
No,
for that
no.
red
Down the road.
auxiliary.
The-
I thought it had already been approved by, that's a good question. I thought it had already been approved by them.
Well, the conceptual, I don't think that
No, it
roadway's
wasn't.
gone through
Hasn't?
P&Z.
Those
We
are
haven't had a
two new
P&Z
ones.
meeting in a
Page
long time.
6 of 14 for anyone playing along at home.
I thought it was a long time ago when this plan came up a year or so
Be
ago.
before my time with P&Z, that would be 5 years or so. But I don't know what. Recently, there have been, talks about potential like land swaps or whatever, doing other things with that. I'm going to be risk averse that with those discussions having happened recently, with us getting a new P&Z person to do the designing of this road now and paying for that now, when that might not be a thing that happens in the future. And then on Exhibit 3, the culvert crossing, the last question I have is, do we have some sort of precedence? Is that normal for us to spend taxpayer dollars to make those kind of improvements for essentially a private property owner? Have we paid for other culvert improvements on Hall Road that you can think of?
Well, in fact, we have just on our New Bern crossing, we actually did culvert improvements in front of what we refer to as the Quonset hut property right there.
The culvert improvements is
This-
just to maintain drainage abilities, correct?
Correct, but this is just design. This is not construction.
Okay.
So
And then the
And likewise with that road section, the discussion was just design. We can limit that to just the driveway as one of the conversations we had with our doer was just the driveway.
Okay. What do y'all think? I'm totally.
It's an entrance for an empty property, right? And so if we're going to do the work right there, we might as well design it for the driveway for that property rather than having them tear up what we do.
And for council's information, that particular road does show up on our small area transit plan. So it's been on our plan for the city of Page for many years now. So that road is that location is a future alignment of.
I thought I'd seen that before, so thank you for clarifying that.
Are you wanting to give us a motion?
Yeah,
or-
just one other little comment. Thank you. I know this is kind of out of your element. This is higher than your usual bulldozer and grader and pickup trucks, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
This guy.
so I'm
Mine
looking
just
for a
disappeared.
motion for
Bring it
consent
up.
items 3.2 and 3.3. Do I have a motion to accept consent items 3.2 and 3.3?
I make a motion to accept consent agenda items 2 and 3.
Second?
I have a motion from Councilor Roundtree and a second from Councilor Hettinger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed?
Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
On to new business, number 9.1, Balloon Regatta T-shirt design contest winners. This goes to our events team.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Lisette de la Cruz. I am the City of Page Events Manager. We are so excited to be preparing for our 22nd annual Balloon Regatta taking place this year, Thursday, October 30th to Sunday, November 2nd. I'm here to recognize the winner of our 2025 Balloon Regatta t-shirt design contest. She is a local artist. Her name is Taimani Meredith. And I'm going to introduce her here and invite her to the podium so she can talk a little bit more about her amazing artwork.
Taloha. Good evening. My name is Taimani Meredith, and I am thrilled to submit my artwork for the 22nd annual Page Balloon Regatta t-shirt design contest. I've proudly called Page my home for nearly 9 years, and this event always has been one of my favorite ways to celebrate our community and the stunning beauty of Page, Arizona. For this submission, I created this design on my iPad using Procreate, using a brush paint pen to give each stroke and line a natural, organic feel that connects to the essence of Page. The design blends a desert dreamscape with balloon spirit animals, inspired by the landscapes, wildlife, and unique character of our city. My goal was to create something whimsical and retro while honoring the earth tones and iconic scenery that makes Page so special. Art has always been a passion of mine, and I love using digital illustration to tell stories. Through this piece, I wanted to capture more than just balloons in the sky. It's a celebration of community, adventure, and the vibrant culture that makes Page feel like home. Thank you for the opportunity to contribute to an event that brings so much joy and pride to our city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If possible, could I have the city council for a photo opportunity? Thank you so much.
I want to know if there's going to be a balloon in the shape of that rabbit.
I wish. That'd be so cool. Oh, and to share, we will have merchandise with this design available at our morning launches, at the Lake Powell National Golf Course. Those take off at 7:30 in the morning, Thursday to Sunday, and then also our street fair, sponsored and hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
A reminder to put your microphones back on. Okay. Next item, number 9.2, City Hall Improvements Design. I see that Mitch and Tim Whiteside have been on screen for a long time waiting for us. And Kyle.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. It's fun to be back up here just moments after. So yeah, I'm actually pleased to be up here to kind of present Tim Whiteside and Mitch Walzer. They're with Johnson Walzer and Associates. They're our on-call architects that we've given the opportunity to do the design for the City Hall remodel expansion, specifically the expansion of the council chambers here. They've put together two kind of preliminary sketches of some options we have that we wanted to present to council to kind of get some feedback and a little bit of direction on which design you'd like to proceed with so that they can take further into plan development. So I'd like to turn a little bit of time over to Tim Whiteside and Mitch Walzer. I've given you the PDFs you have there, but they'll present those on the screen and kind of go through them briefly, and then we'll give you a few minutes to ask some questions, and then we'll seek some direction from council. So I'll turn the time over to Tim and Mitch.
Great. Thank you, Kyle. We've had a chance to spend some time in City Hall and looked at the facility, went through and kind of verified how spaces are being used, who all's where, had opportunity to further discuss the project a bit with staff and with Kyle. And our starting point is the understanding that the plan would be to add a new council chamber, generally at the end of the building, and reuse the existing space where you all are right now to consider moving some staff positions, perhaps the mayor, perhaps clerk and city attorney, up into this end of the building. And then we looked at what support spaces would be necessary if we add on to the building. And with the council chamber would come some of the kind of back of house space that you have right now, storage and IT space, a need for a new safe and welcoming public entry to the council chamber, and toilets that could be part of the council chamber addition that would be for public use and that would solve some of the security problems in the current city hall with needing to go down the hall to the toilets. And then there was discussion about perhaps some additional conference space off of the council chambers. That could be space for the executive session to be handled. A conference room off the public side could be a benefit for public if you're scheduling other kinds of activities where you might need a breakout area. So kind of expanding the idea of what else can a council chamber handle that would be a benefit for the community. So these are some of our initial conversations and what I view as our initial program. So what we have tonight are two very preliminary ideas. These are not intended to be a final design or we're trying to sell one idea or the other. We just want to kind of give you an update on what that program would mean. Can we fit that at the end of the building? What are the considerations there? And what does that shake out into some square footages, which of course will then lead to what kinds of construction costs would be looked at. So this is not a final product by any means. This is just an initial touch base really with you all to see if we are going in a direction that you find that you're intending, or do we need to keep looking for options? So with that, let me see if I can share screen with you successfully. And oops. Okay, so are you all seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So we have these two options. We're looking here at an overview of the site of the City Hall. City Hall building is here, just to orient you briefly. Courts building is down in this area. Public parking area here. Staff parking is along the back here. This plan just shows if we start to add on to this end, what kinds of demolition will be necessary. A little bit of reconfiguration of the parking lot. A little bit of impact of the green area here, the raised planter space. In addition, in this first option, we're looking at about 5,200 square foot of addition here, which you might go, oh gosh, that seems like a lot. We're just adding on the council chamber, but I'll show the floor plan and give you an idea of what that actually means. But this kind of addition could be handled down here. We get rather close to the overhang of the courts building here. That was a constraint, so we kind of came out as far as we could. That direction, come out into this very vacant area out in front. We would create a new entry point along this axis. This general area here would be a public entry off of the parking. We can clean up the accessible parking a little bit with this approach and get the handicap spaces right close to the door. Also, a common issue or request for both of these schemes is to study the idea of creating a secure parking area for staff at the back. So both of these schemes, we looked at the extension of a driveway along the back side by the retaining wall to tie back into the Justice Court, right, and the City Court's building parking, so that both sides could have access. And we understand courts have some plans for a sally port, and it looks like this concept would work well with what they're thinking about. So let's take a little bit of a look at this area now, what it could be. This is an enlargement, just looking again at the demolition that's required. Here we can see the council chambers where you are now. Basically, the strategy would be to gut and redo this area, perhaps extending the remodel into a piece of the IT area, which would give us a plan similar to this. This is, again, the entry we just discussed. This is the remodel area. The council chamber here, we show an addition that's about 4 foot wider than the room you're in right now. It is longer, however. We've increased the seating capacity. The current chambers is about 2,100 square feet. The view we have here is about 2,700 square feet. It varies between the schemes, but adding about 500 square feet for the council chambers. This would seat about 160 people. This could become shorter if this seems too big to anyone. Getting this kind of size seems to open it up for other public uses. We've kept kind of the configuration that you're accustomed to at the front with a curved entry or curved seating area. It kind of gives a nice in the round feel. Around behind, though, we have connectivity for staff, for council, back into the remodel area that would solve some of the security problems and safety for council. We would suggest a toilet be included for staff and for council use during meetings. Not that your meetings are long, but as a convenience. Some space for table and chair storage so that multiple setups could be handled here without just piling the seats around the edges. We have at the back allowed some space for the same, some more storage, and maybe IT to have a rollout sound card or whatever might be needed there. The entry would have a vestibule. This is not a large lobby, just enough room to kind of handle the people coming in and out. We did include in this option a conference room that would be off the lobby. So if you're having more of a public event that needed a small breakout area, you would have that. Again, kind of thinking of other conferencing capabilities of council chamber. Also, the toilet requirements for a facility of about this size would be 2 public toilets, 2 facilities, water closet, urinal for both, and some support space for IT and a drinking fountain. So that kind of piles in all of the various program components that we've understood for the addition. In the remodel, we just tested the waters to see what we could fit into the existing council chamber space. And in this particular plan, we've allowed an office for the mayor, clerk, deputy clerk, and staff could move into this area. The city attorney could fit into this area, just looking at their existing space utilization. There could be room for a moderate size executive conference room, which would be available for the council to retire here to meet and then come back out for a public session.
It's right there.
There's also some space for some open workstations in the middle here, and perhaps a line of security here, even for folks that are coming from the main public entrance of the city hall to come down and have some meetings here. There could be a point of control here with a reception position. This is all very preliminary, but just gives an idea that, yeah, those functions look like they could probably fit in that area and would, of course, need to be vetted out with staff. But that gives you just a bit of an idea of what that would look like. There's some exiting around the backside here so that from this here, people that are working in this area would be able to exit the building out the back and have access directly into the secure parking area, which could be a plus. There's also some service access around back. We also have looked at request that a secure staff entrance for courts has been mentioned as a possibility. So we just looked at a possibility of working where that door is and maybe adding the line of security up here for the parking area. The whole back would be secure from the staff parking, the courts area. This whole area would be secure with a gate here, which would allow the staff entrance here to work. So that, whirlwind is option 1. Let me flip to option 2, and then maybe we can circle back and take questions and kind of get some redirection from you all. So option 1, option 2, go back to this guy, here we go. Option 2, site plan, as we looked at before, this explores the idea, instead of adding on to the end of the building, which this is already an incredibly long building, we thought just what would happen if we placed an addition out more in the front. So here we will have an addition that's kind of out in this vicinity. It has a bigger impact on the parking area, as you can see from all the stuff in red, which is being demolished to accomplish this. One thing that's sort of unusual with the existing parking area is it's, in terms of space planning, it's pretty inefficient with long amounts of driveways and not so much parking. So we looked at this similar kind of addition, similar program needs, but we just looked at moving this building out into the front, creating more of a hallway connection from the end of the building right into the council chambers. So the walking distance is a little bit greater. That's a negative. Positive is it kind of allows this to be its own form. We studied some rough massing for both of these options. The first one I showed would be probably a building with a parapet and kind of relating more visually to the courts building, if you kind of think of it very simple massing, very simple building. This one out here could be that, but it could also be something that also has a pitched roof, a little bit more speaking to the city hall and a little bit more of a modern look. But we have some opportunities here, should this be a desirable option. Coming inside here, we can again look, the demolition is essentially the same for the council chambers. A little more demolition out in the parking area, as I mentioned. This would produce something along these lines, where the addition would be here. This would be the connection into the office area. The office area is basically identical in the two schemes, just as a placeholder. We would have the public entry here. This existing door would remain for staff use. Entry, again, lobby, toilets, same number of toilet facility. Another conference room out in the lobby space. Similar arranged council chamber. This one's a little bit skinnier than what we showed before. It could be wider as well. We have some constraints over here in the parking lot, but either it could be about the same. It's very similar design for the council chamber. But again, just looking at ways to place the building, and again, looking at the sizes, this option is a little bit larger, 6,000 square feet. The reason for that is we have the hallway, of course, to connect. And then in this plan, we created, with the addition, an executive conference room with the addition and a toilet here, again, so that council could have a place to retreat for executive session, still have access to toilet. This would open up a common hallway, so clerk and other staff would be able to move freely into the meeting space without affecting the council activities or things going on in the meeting room. So that's kind of where we're at with two options. The council chamber, as I mentioned, is 2,100 square feet right now. We're looking at 2,700 new. This may be a bit of a surprise to you all if you're thinking maybe we just add the council chamber and be done. We did explore that a little bit. We would need to consider a much greater remodel to the city hall. In other words, to move all of the other public functions that we've just shown here, the new toilets and such, into the remodel. So that's where we are. Don't be swayed by a lot of hard lines in here. We're just trying to get our arms around generally what you all want to accomplish here and try to arrive at some square footages so we can start planning the next steps. So with that, I can turn this over for questions if you would like. Kyle?
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Questions?
Councilor Augie.
Yeah, just real quick. Estimated parking for number 1 and then number 2?
What were our increases, Tim, on parking for option 1?
We have about 47 spaces added, or 47 spaces total in option 2. And option 1, I believe the number was a little bit lower than that.
43 and 40 existing.
43, yeah, thank you. And so we're picking up a few spaces in each of these schemes.
So not significant, but we are increasing parking.
Right. We looked a little bit just in general with parking. We're a little bit bound on the northwest side with some slope issues. As you all know, as we get closer to the street, we start to slope down. We do have a possibility of extending the parking along this edge of Courts, possibly if there's a concern about how much parking we need. Basically, main goal was to match what we have and not lose parking spaces.
We can add parking, but you don't want to, you want to avoid parking that has a lot of slope. Mm-hmm. So people aren't having to hike uphill. We're not a shopping center, so you're not pushing a cart, but I think all of us have been at shopping centers where you're either being drugged downhill with a shopping cart or pushing your shopping cart uphill, or perhaps kids uphill, so we really want to avoid that. And we have, you get too far out, and we get quite a bit of slope in our parking lot out here.
Councilor Farrell?
Thank you for this. Can we have these option 1 and option 2 reviewed by our police command staff and fire staff?
Certainly, I mean, we can. Yeah.
On option 2, the parking's right against the city council side, which would not be approved most generally, with having open parking right next to the council.
For crashing into the building?
And or explosive. And so, yeah, it could be an incident. And then usually there's no parking behind the council. And there has to be a general, egress and egress routes on it. So on option 2, the plan has the parking too close to the council chambers. So it would just be nice to have the police review it as well for security issues.
I certainly agree with that. And when we came up with this particular scheme, it's very tight up there. And I really think that if we pursue scheme 2, we should push the parking farther to the northwest anyways.
Yeah, it puts a choke point between the council chambers and the rest of the building. Those were my just 2 initial thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I will add, if something we've always talked about, previous city managers, not just Mr. Caldwell, but Celaya and such, that tying these parking lots, since we own the courthouse building, increasing the parking back here, we could move employee parking to the back as we wanted, and that would definitely open up, the public parking in the front, so we would see an increase with that. And we have talked, if you talk to Judge Hettinger and certainly with Judge Barnes, the county would like to see a Sally Port and secured parking for their employees. And we have a very narrow ingress and egress on this backside. We've talked about combining that and creating a secure egress ingress on one side and an egress out on this side, so we can create a secure parking for our staff in the back and get all of our staff out of the front here, increase that parking for the public, get that secure.
Yeah, I think it was 2017. It was when I did the assessment for the building. He found the assessment in his desk when he moved in, and that was what you brought up as one of the things we talked about, was to have the secure parking with 2 points of entrance and exits. as well as secure what's back behind here or what's out there.
Yeah. So that's one of our goals. It's been one of my goals is how do we get that? You know, we've got some drainage issues and all that we can take care of, but that is a goal to increase the parking in the back and the security as well at the same time.
Of these drawings, option 1 looked closer to what would be ideal. I don't know if we need that size of a theater, but I like the layout better than option 2.
Councilor Preller.
Definitely number 1.
Good evening. Thanks for putting these plans together. I feel like this might be a little on the large side, square footage wise. We rarely fill this room to capacity, and this room is not constantly in use 24/7. I think we might be overdoing it. There's a room here labeled events that has, since these plans been commissioned, been turned into a conference room. And these plans have like 2 more conference rooms and like 3 restrooms and whatnot. That might be a bit more than we ultimately need, I feel. But you know, I'm open to input discussion on that. So my only other thought, I just think, you know, smaller, save some money, and I'd rather spend tax money on road improvements or something else rather than, you know, building us a new palace, so to speak. Other than that, since this is basically only going to be connected to original City Hall by one kind of shared wall, it's almost a standalone building. And so I think we should make an effort to up the quality of any plans as far as like energy efficiency, HVAC, that sort of stuff goes. Because if this is going to be here for 50, 70 years, like the room we're sitting in now, that's going to save future generations money down the line. With it being a parapet roof, I think we should at least get a quote on what a solar and battery array are going to run for this section of building. Other than that, hooray.
Yeah, we certainly can, when we get this and get into construction plans and get the CDs going, yeah, we can certainly look at better building products.
Okay, thank you.
For energy efficiency, absolutely.
Councilor Roundtree.
So I agree with a lot of what Tom said in the beginning. I think it's larger than what we need. I like Plan 1. I don't, if the council can't go back in and use the restrooms that they're there, why have another, like build so many more restrooms?
There's a restroom behind the
That's what I'm saying.
council
So,
seat,
and
yeah.
then my other concern was the conference. If we're looking for security, if our conference room is out front on Plan 1, if it could not be back like still where it was or not out front, we wouldn't have to go so far out if it was just restrooms. When you first walk into the foyer, there was just public restrooms out there, not have the conference room there. I liked that the conference room on Plan 2 was back behind council chambers.
Debbie, I
Well,
think you
actually,
missed it on
Plan
that.
one,
Yeah,
but I like Plan 1
on
better.
option 1, actually, if you look.
There
at
is an
option 1,
executive
there's a-
conference room. It just doesn't have a table drawn into it.
Oh, okay.
It's
So
right-
I
it's
just
right in the-
didn't see why we
yeah,
needed
it's
the
right
other-
in the corner
when
right
you first
there.
walked in, I didn't see why we needed another conference room, because I agree with Tom. I think smaller is definitely, I'm not looking for bigger.
Well, and-
But I do like the security of the parking behind and adding all of that, the parking behind the building and the entrance and the exit and that level of security for our staff and for the court.
Well, and you know, and I don't always want to add another option. I like to bring yes and no's to council rather than more discussion.
Okay, so, all right.
There certainly is designs of efficiencies for the whole building that we could look at. But yeah, there's opportunities within the whole building to really
All right.
do that. But
So
that's
basically
up to council to make that decision.
Saying as I like Plan 1, but I do think it's bigger than what we need.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Hettinger, I was writing something down.
No, thank you, Mayor. I want to start by saying I really like the designs because I feel like we're spending a lot of time on the parking, but I do have a question about the parking. So walk me through the secured employee parking. We've got the road off of Lake Powell Boulevard, which currently is there. And then the other one's going to go out through the Court and Canyon lands.
Correct, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm a little bit concerned just on traffic on that road. Like those two sides of the parking lot are often full and people backing in and out there. I'm worried about sending a ton of employees either in or out that way. I understand that we want to have entrance and exit on, or we want to have two sides to it. I just wonder, is that where employees enter and exit and they only exit onto Lake Powell?
That would be my recommendation, yes.
Okay.
Just because our entrance on Lake Powell is quite narrow, that driveway is quite narrow. It doesn't,
Gotcha.
and it's quite short. So you have two things. The width is one, and then you don't have enough stacking to wait for an automatic gate to open.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay, well, that makes sense. And then the other question I have here is, I agree that it feels large now. What I don't want to do, though, is do a remodel and then in 5 years do another remodel because it wasn't big enough. So what is driving this initially? And if we're thinking about planning ahead, what makes sense in terms of size? Like, why increase now? And are we going to have the same problem in 5 years?
Well, costs will be more in 5 years. That's a guarantee. So, but I, you know, we had the architects look at it and just say, you know, what is the best fit? You know, what can we plan for and feel comfortable with? Because certainly we could go much larger. You know, it was really looking at what the size of this green space is out here. They slid this one forward a little bit to save 1 or 2 trees. You know, they still lost one of the trees out there in the back. With option 2, you can see they saved both trees in there. So there was a little bit of thought in that. So they looked at a little bit of the width, how many people we could fit on the dais, kind of determined that. In option 2, the dais is a little bit narrower. We talked about, you know, the space council members have would be narrower to fit, you know, all 7 plus the clerk is 8, so you get a little bit tighter there. So there's some of that thought process in what we had in terms of deciding how the size goes. And even the storage behind was kind of the buffer, the security aspect of that. You know, how do we keep, you know, remove the glass from behind the council that you have now? How do we get that buffer space in there?
Yeah, and I guess to rephrase, because I think it's very well thought out. I like how it kind of follows the line that the court is doing, and that's how you get the conference room. Like, I think it's very well thought out. My question is, are we trying to fill the green space, or is this what we actually need for the city?
Yeah.
Are we filling a space, or are we filling a need? And what's the need that we're trying to fill right now is what I'm trying to understand.
I can tell you my opinion. So at first, when it was brought up to push out and to put in new council chambers, I thought, why? Why do we need it? Well, number one, then I learned how badly the security is needed to be improved. And then 2, I was shown how bad the structure of this corner of the building is and how much repair is needed. And that's going to be a lot of money if all we want to do is just repair one corner. So thinking towards going ahead and just fixing the problem completely in one step, that's where I finally came around and said, security is really, really bad. If ask the security guy. And we can fix that, even though it feels like it might be a big bite. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, I think we do the larger plan and we don't pay the higher costs in 5 years and have to.
Oh, you mean follow Plan 1?
Yes, sorry, like not reduce Plan 1, but just build out the space that's there versus we come back 5 years, 20 years, whatever it is, and now we're trying to build a building that goes around another weird corner.
Councilor Roundtree.
So I'm not for sure if in the new plan on Plan 2, if that's accurate in spacing, but that I count 160 chairs and we have 52, 60 to 52. That's 100 more chairs than what's in here. That space just, that I don't see us needing 160. Even when I see other cities on major, like Mesa and stuff, and I see the number of chairs, I don't see that many chairs. I think the space is bigger than what our council needs.
I've got a question for you on the size of that room. Now, it's drawn out to show how many chairs could fit. Is the reason why the room is that large for some other things like voting? Could voting use a bigger room?
No.
Okay.
I'll let the clerks nod to that.
A consideration.
Clerk is nodding that the council chambers could be larger for voting issues. And other events held in the same.
And we don't, and I apologize, we don't have a scale necessarily on there. We didn't want to make the plans overly confusing by adding a bunch of dimensions and lines in there.
That was my question. They might be out of dimension, but if it's in dimension, I mean, if it's accurate to scale, then that's a lot. That's more than double the size of this room, and that seems
Councillor
really
Hammond? Oh.
I could clarify that a little bit if you'd like.
Okay. Go ahead.
The capacity of your present meeting room, if I use the same kind of seating layout that is shown in the proposed plan, would approach 100 seats. So, we're just showing tight spacing if you've got, a maximum crowd in the addition. The addition is 500 to 700 square feet larger than your current council chamber, which is larger. And you're having a very good conversation, I think, right now on what you need in 5 years, because any government needs to think of where you're going to be. When I was looking at this, I was also, I guess, thinking of this as more of a community space, that if you provide a bigger space, what other functions could meet community needs here? Creating a new public entrance and a flexible space. Now, maybe that's just me thinking of other options for the space, but that would be a consideration as you all look at various, what is the right size? This is a very good question.
Councillor Preller, then Councillor.
Yeah, I was just.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Hammond. I said Councillor Hammond first, and then Councillor Preller.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you just got to something that I'm seeing with this larger design. None of us wants to see a Taj Mahal for city council. We're there once every 2 weeks. And I think when we look at the meeting attendance, we don't see that being full. But with this direction of where we're trying to get more community involvement, I mean, just think if we had this larger space when we were having the design presentations for the downtown revitalization, for example. I think of this as more multi-purpose space. And if we maximize that space, then it also maximizes our potential uses down the road. So I like that.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Preller?
I was just pointing out that Amanda had
Oh, you were pointing to Amanda. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Yeah. So before we go, we're just kind of looking for a little direction from the council, or I don't want to spin our wheels. Are we looking at proceeding along the lines of option one, which is what I'm feeling we want to do here?
I like option one myself.
I like option one.
The only thing in option one that I thought was.
I agreed with what Council Farrow said in regards to having it evaluated first by others before we approve one or two. I'd like to have the police and the fire.
Have a safety assessment done on the design.
We can definitely have some comments.
Okay. So do we need a motion on this?
I mean,
just direction.
You don't need a motion, but I think, you could just say if police and fire are good with option one. I think we're looking more of conceptual. In which direction do you want us to move? Yes, the police and fire and all that will, but they're looking to take the next steps of doing those kinds of things and starting to narrow down the details.
So rather than moving forward with suggestion 2, they know now that they can move forward with suggestion 1.
Yeah, and start planning for the safety aspects and all that kind of stuff with the concept of 1 more in that direction than 2.
Okay. I don't think we need does the council feel good about number 1?
Yeah, just.
We do. Yes, Councilor Roundtree.
So when does the discussion on the cost of that plan, when is that coming into effect?
That'd be after the design is complete and When would that come in?
Well, we can start developing that and get an idea of what those costs are throughout the phase in the project. We'll go from here. Typically we go from 30% plans to 60% to 90% plans, and in there we can start working on what those development costs will be, and we can have an idea what those targets are. Right now, costs are anywhere. I don't want to, don't quote me on prices now that it's going to be on record, but anywhere from $400 a square foot for government remodel. So this space could be $400 a square foot to $750 a square foot for new construction. So it's going to be a big number. So, and that's the reality of it. So.
Okay.
It's, so this would be something that the council, we put together, and what the budget is, and we sit on it a year and do in 2028 or 2027, or we say we'll get our ducks in a row and we do it then. So that's up to you as the council to decide.
Okay. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all very much.
Concept number 1.
Thank you.
Item number 9.2, the rescheduling of November and December council meetings. So typically, the council does not have a second meeting in November and does not have any meetings scheduled in December. Last year, we ended up having 2 emergency meetings in December, and so I'm recommending that we follow that same plan of canceling those 3 meetings and just leaving December open for any emergency possibility. Councilor Rountree.
I think the fact that we're just going to be bringing on new employees, to not have but 1 in November and not have 2 in December, I think is irresponsible. I think we need to have 1 in the early December and 1 in early November because of the fact that we'll have the number of new employees that will be needing direction. Otherwise, we'll be sitting with until January, until the board can give more direction to our new employees.
Should we get some opinion of staff on that? Do you think would that be the case if we did not have?
We have 1 staff member coming online on October 13th. At this point, nobody else for sure.
Okay.
And I would say for the planning and zoning director, there's already a pretty long list of things that are in the hopper to work on. I certainly there could be things that we would need council direction on, but there's going to be a lot of things for Sylvia to start working on.
And in December, is that when most of the city staffing takes their vacation hours? And are we like skeleton crew here usually during December? Yes? Okay. Councilor Preller and then Councilor Hettinger.
Just looking at my schedule, I'd love to have all the council meetings in the world. Let's have them every week, be twice as productive. I'm kidding. So if we are going to consider doing council meetings in that time frame, the gap from the 29th of October and the 5th of November, that's one of those 2-week gaps between meetings. If we scooched back both of the November meetings and both of the December meetings, you would no longer be day before Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and New Year's Eve. That's kind of where they fall right now. So if we scooched all 4 of those back or just one of those and canceled the rest or whatever, that's fine as well. But we have kind of that buffer of the 1 2-week gap in there to work with.
I like that idea.
Councilor Hettinger.
I think for me, the main staff member that I would want to make sure we're meeting with is potentially a new city manager, but without more details about that, I think we stick with November 12th and leave December open. If we don't know when their availability is to start, when we'll be able to put out an offer, and I'd rather leave December open for a special meeting if we want to meet with the city manager. I don't think we'd want to have a regular agenda for that anyway. I think we'd just want to be able to focus on priorities for them. So I think we stick with the original plan of November 12th and canceling December meetings while remaining open to special meetings.
Did you have your hand up, Councilor Augie?
No, I agree, and I think we can move on. Motion and move on.
I agree with what Kenna just said.
I'm open to what Councilor Hettinger said, that to leave the if we get city manager that we'll have a special meeting.
And then
in
we can plan, we can just say that December will be a special meeting. It's open for special meeting as needed.
Yep.
Okay. Do we have a motion that can do this for our November and December meetings?
Mayor, I move to approve the change to the November schedule to meet only once on November 12th, 2025, and cancel both December 2025 meetings while remaining open to special meetings.
Second.
We have a motion from Councillor Hettinger and a second from Councillor Preller. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Unanimous. Item number 9.4, Page, Arizona 50th Anniversary Flag Design. This goes over to you.
Yeah, so I'm going to apologize. I am unprepared. I did not make the 305-page PowerPoint on good flags around the world. I guess I'm kind of looking for how you guys are feeling on a new flag design and thoughts of how we should go about it. If we want to do a contest for local artists, if we want to try to find someone to design it for us, if we just want to steal the Belgian flag, let's not do that. But just kind of ideas of what you guys think and feel about this.
Personally, I think we saw that we can do a contest and get something pretty neat. I don't know. Councillor
I'm not in
Roundtree.
favor of the contest because
Okay.
this was an amazing design, and we have had some, but we have had some that aren't, and you wouldn't want to get a design that ended up being the best, and you didn't want it, so you'd never want to offend. So to me, it would have to be, for me, a professional design.
Councillor Hettinger.
I second, I would love a professional design, but I'd love for it to start with citizen input. I think I've seen that in other cities where they get a lot of feedback from citizens on what they want the city to feel like, but I'd like a professional design.
I think
Councillor Hoggy.
take a picture of the one we have now, put it on Page Happenings, or put it out on the City Page website. Hey, folks, this is what we got. Can you do better?
Or give us some ideas for improvements, and then we'll give it to a professional
Yeah.
to improve it.
So,
Anyways. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Councillor, who do we, or what do we do with this? Oh, do we decide how this is going to happen and who's going to do what? Do we just instruct staff, mainly maybe through events?
yeah, events
Or have the city manager design us a flag?
I'd be happy to design you a flag, Mayor.
You said that you're challenged with colors, though, Brian.
A little bit. Just one thought. We're interviewing public information professional, and through these interviews, we've had people talk about branding page and coming up with a design. And I would just suggest, if we are able to get somebody on board here in the next 30 days, 6 weeks, that they may bring a lot to the table on this.
I agree. Yeah, that sounds
Yes.
good.
I didn't think of that, thank you.
So I make a motion that we give direction that we, our new PIO, when we hire them, that they take on this project,
Sorry, future PIO, if you're listening.
whoever you are.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councillor Roundtree and a second by Councillor Augie. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Unanimous? Item number 9.5, annual review process for appointed positions. This was Councillor Hettinger's request from a previous meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. So I've been thinking about what we've discussed previously about the review process and my own experience with it. I've got a recommendation, and then I'd love to hear feedback, what you guys like, what you don't like. So I know one of our priorities is getting that 360-degree feedback, getting feedback, I think, from the appointed themselves, their direct peers, and then the people that work for them. What I've heard, though, is that when this type of feedback is tied to compensation, it's harder to get valid feedback. Either the manager is pressuring their employees to give them a really good review, or employees feel uncomfortable giving not great feedback when we're then going to decide what they're making. So my recommendation is that 6 months before we do our annual reviews, that's when we conduct the 360-degree review. And then we have an executive session where we bring in the appointeds, we go over the feedback that we received, And as council, we give very clear expectations on what we want to see over the next 6 months. That then makes it much easier when we come in October to have an annual review. 6 months previously, we told them what we're expecting to see. They can then, if we're like, here are all of the problems, and they come back in 6 months and everything's great, but nothing's changed, I think that's easier for us to evaluate versus trying to decide how good Josh is as an attorney, because from my very uneducated position, he seems great, but who knows? Just kidding, Josh. So my recommendation is that we work with Rachel to administer this process. The city has a current system that we could look into with her. And then for our October review specifically, in the past when I've been evaluated at work, there's a set of questions that I answer and I do a self-evaluation. So I'd love to work with Rachel as well, have her reach out to her network of HR experts so that we can come up with a set of questions that we're giving to the appointeds. We're getting feedback from them. We're getting feedback in October and then feedback from others, and constantly being in that review process.
So that would be a March and October.
Thank you for doing the
plan,
math for me, because I
correct?
still haven't done that. So it would be March and October executive sessions, leaving the annual review in October, but providing clear expectations in March.
Councilor Preller.
Thanks for kind of putting a framework out there. I just have a couple questions. How far would you want the employees to give anonymous feedback, or would you want names attached to that?
I think all of the systems say it should be anonymous. So I'm not, we can use the system we have, we can choose a new system. I'd love to work with Rachel on that. I don't care, but I think it should be anonymous.
Okay, that system.
Just so you know, previous city council already did instruct a 360 review process to be put in place, but it never took place. I mean, maybe in some instances, but not the way we had requested it. You remember it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That system starts to have some issues for the appointed staff that have a very low number of direct reports. So Cindy only having 2 people, or Josh only got 2, that could get skewed.
Yes, so this was a concern I had as well, and I talked to Josh about it, and Josh, correct me if I say anything incorrectly. But in addition to the people that work for them, there's a lot of peers or people that they work with. So Josh works with all of the departments providing advice, so we could actually get a lot more feedback than just his direct reports, but it would be kind of everyone who has insight into his...
A minimum number of participants in the 360.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I guess last question, how far down are you looking at drilling on this? Like just directors, or are you going to have like firefighter EMTs reporting on city manager performance?
This would be something I'd want Rachel's expertise on. I think if we want to dive into this, I don't know what the right system and process is. I'm imagining that, for the city manager, we're going to directors. If there's managers that they work really closely with, maybe you go down a couple levels, but I don't think we're asking the entire city staff to give feedback on everyone.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Councilor Roundtree.
I was just going to say that I do want it to be anonymous. I don't think it should go too far down, because those down there, if they're not directly working with someone, then I don't think they should do an evaluation. I don't think those become accurate. I think that can be rumor or hearsay. And then lastly, I was aware that the council had already voted on 360, so if we're not going to use it, then we do need to do we need to have a motion that we're not going to use that any longer? Or are we
I think
going
we
to
should
use
still use it.
360? So we are going to
But
use
just,
360.
we're talking about a schedule of when to do it and when to
Because
do
those
our
councils already
review.
approved. And then, remember last spring, I was asking for a 6-month review. And I was the only one asking, and so I'm grateful that you've brought that back, because I had wanted a 6-month review. I don't think it's fair for someone to have only a yearly review and you go in, they don't have an opportunity to be for improvement or have clear directions on what you're looking for. And I feel as we go into evaluations this year, our employees will not have had clear direction from several of us that were elected. So yes, I like doing the staggered interviews.
Councilor Preller.
Are we including PUE on this?
Oh,
Are you guys evaluated the same?
No, the way the ordinance directs mine, I'm a little bit different. I report first to the board. That's the one board you have that has some authority. And so they do my evaluation, beat me up pretty good. And then they send me up to you after I'm blackened up pretty good.
Do we get to know what that evaluation is and
Pardon?
the evaluation that they give you? Do we get that evaluation?
Yeah,
They send their
that's forwarded up to
recommendations.
you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But so then we don't need to do every 6 months with,
No, the board, his board does that.
so his board will be doing the 6 month, we'll just be doing a yearly with.
Well,
If
mine
they
is-
choose to.
They do it annually.
They do it annually, and then they send it to us, and then we accept it.
So we don't have authority over his.
Right.
We just received the recommendation from the board. So if the PUE board wanted to implement that, they could, but this decision wouldn't be impacting your review. Or you having to come back every 6 months, unless you want to.
So far, 24 years, it's worked pretty good,
Okay.
I think.
Okay, well, I like it. Do we have a motion for putting this into our annual calendar?
I'm going to make a recommendation, and then you guys let me know how you feel about that motion. But I think next steps is to work with Rachel and have her look at the current system we have, and if it works for this 360-degree review we've talked about in the past, and then also have her start working on some questions for each of our different appointeds that we can then look at as a group. So I move to direct staff to move forward with both the 360-degree platform and questions for our annual reviews.
At the 6 month marks, okay.
Second? No.
We have a motion from Councilor Hettinger and a second from Councilor Augie. All in favor, say aye.
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 Item number 9.6, Parks and Open Space for Amphitheater Area. We were gonna have some information about the area around it, but I don't know if we do have that. Oh, we got something on the screen already. In the process of trying to get this into Parks and Open Space with a solid.
Explain what this is,
Yeah.
what we're looking at. So we've got a couple of property sales that are in the process but not under contract, so to speak. So the red one there on the right-hand side is a presentation that was done several months ago. Council directed them to go ahead and move forward with a survey and appraisal. They've gotten it surveyed. They're working on their appraisal right now, but that red box is generally what they've had surveyed. So not under contract, but some direction was given to council to proceed with that. The other one is on the left-hand side. I believe that is the glamping domes project. That one's been a little bit of a moving target as far as the exact location. This is the most recent that they've asked for, not under contract, but that's the location that, you know, we had the last location that they had generally discussed. And also they were asking to buy all the way into the amphitheater. That was a verbal ask, and I think we kind of waffled on that a little bit and didn't really commit one way or the other. We've also had, just to let you know, staff has also had requests from another interested party that would like to purchase, kind of similar, not quite as funky of a shape there, I don't believe, but it goes all the way over in front of the amphitheater and then kind of covers some of that same, where the gravel there, the ground asphalt is laid down. None of it's under contract. None of this is under contract. But just to let you know kind of some of the things that we've had presentations on.
So a quick question. The red boundary, that one does not impact the general area that we were initially wanting to put into Parks and Rec. It's just, it's just a little different than that boundary line was in the original proposal.
Yeah, so my understanding, the staff's initial kind of thought was to draw a line all the way around the mesa. If you drew a line all the way around the mesa, it would impact their project here. But as far as the little hike into that little sand cave and the amphitheater and all of that kind of stuff, it wouldn't impact that. As you can see, it's all behind the mesa there.
Councilor Preller, and then Councilor Hammond.
So I'm cheating and looking at the parcel viewer right now. That is, as of yet, still part of one of those mega parcels that is like 260 some acres. And without having the added parcels from the Sedona Wellness folks in there, there's not really a lot that we can play with. But I think that parcel ending, that 260 acre parcel ends kind of right down that mesa. Kind of there's a straight north-south divide there. I would feel comfortable everything that we haven't committed to the Sedona folks to the east of that on the mesa to make parks and open space. We'd have to create a parcel, but I'd happily entertain that.
I'm not quite following where you're talking about.
Which picture are you looking?
The red line or the?
Yeah.
The red line, you're saying everything east of it?
Am I good to walk around with visual aids?
When you say east of the red box or east of the?
Up until this line.
The gray box.
And then,
I think so.
The theater down here.
He said the gray box.
Do we have a
east of
pointer
the
that
gray
works on the
box.
screen?
So
Yeah.
Tom, the request for turning it into parks and open space would make it so that we would have to have the glamping people move to another location entirely. And that area where they were wanting to do would be parking, am I correct? For the parks and
Could
open
be,
events.
yeah. I mean, I don't know that we have a exact design. Maybe Brian can speak. I think he maybe had more conversations with Dwayne about it, but
The line
that's parking right now is kind of what it is.
Right.
We wanted not.
And the request from Parks was to go up that road that is currently over close to Rome and incorporate that entire big space. Do we have that drawing? The original request from him, did we ever put that out? Okay. So what we're really wanting to find out now is if we're fine with keeping the red line here, right?
Yes.
But the other one, where the council needs to give them direction on whether or not they back out on that one here, because we have plans for that whole large area.
Parking area plus the amphitheater area there.
Right.
Yeah.
We want the clamping, the one on the left, to go away.
That's and like the city attorney has mentioned, that there are some other really good locations that are close, or relatively close to infrastructure for them to relocate, and that if they have expended money on this, do we have means to?
We can. So we can work something out with them, negotiate. We can horse trade or whatever on something for costs, or we could pay for if they've already had it appraised, which they have. We could pay for the appraisal on a different piece or reimburse them or whatever.
Okay.
Amanda has her hand up.
Amanda. That's right. You were next.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, I'm wondering why we're even looking at this without a proper recommendation from planning and zoning. And two, the glamping folks from Sedona, to my recollection, they have presented to us 3, maybe 4 times over the course of more than a year. God bless them for continuing to hang in there and work with us. It must be extremely frustrating. And we haven't given them a yes or a no on that sale.
They've moved the location of the request each time.
I probably would too if I continued to get a bunch of maybes from the people I was requesting to work with. But I'm just saying, number one, I Unfortunately for them, I don't think it matters because we haven't committed to do anything with them. And number two, can we please give them an answer one way or the other in the near future?
Councilor Preller. Councilor Roundtree.
Just to quickly reconfirm, the gray polygon on the left here is what is currently being looked at by the Sedona folks.
As best we can tell, yes.
And are there any phase 2, phase 3 options they're looking at later on?
Yes, they would also like to purchase the entire amphitheater area all in front and into the bowl there. That would be their primary ask, because they wanted to do another commercial dome over in front of that with rentals and a juice bar and whatever. But this was where they actually wanted to put their camping, their glamping domes. Is in the gray polygon.
Oh, sorry, I took my mic off and then terrible. So looking at the parcel viewer, we've got that one gigantic square still left that goes all the way around Rome. It goes on the other side of Coppermine Road. It's going to have to be broken up at some point as we develop stuff on the other side of Rome, behind Rome, when the Sedona folks purchase the land. I'm just saying that there's a nice line cutting through the mesa that's basically right where the picture on the left here cuts off, right there. Oh man, this is not as easy as I thought. You get it. And try to parcel off, this is difficult, something like that, going northward to the end of that mesa.
You would be cutting off all parking for the Parks and Rec designs on using that for events, if you only put that.
Well, if we sold any amount of land to the Sedona folks, we would be cutting off parking, right?
That's why we're saying to remove that completely.
Well, I think that's the only feature they're looking for. We might be turning them away entirely if we tell them that.
Those of us who went, some of us were able to go out there and walk the area. If we have them right there in the middle of it, then it completely defeats the entire plan of putting that into a Parks and Rec and having large events in that area.
We're also looking at potentially making that the 4th of July area and other things to be able to launch from the top of the mesa. The way the amphitheater is, the bridge that goes around, you have, they've had previous, you have plenty of parking there. This is better for the police and fire for big special events, which we've outgrown the golf course on something. So the idea is to make all this parks and open space, and Amanda's correct, it probably should go to get rezoned for that if it's not already zoned.
Yeah, it will be.
It should go to that group to rezone it and repurpose it.
Yeah, so the way that I kind of view the process or the procedure would be, if we get a general idea from council, we would then have it surveyed and take that surveyed parcel through the planning and zoning process, because they'll need to, and we could always go to P&Z before and get their thoughts as well on the exact scope, but ultimately it's you guys that make that decision.
Councilor Roundtree.
So was the Sedona group waiting for us for a final? I thought that they still had questions and things they were looking into. I didn't think we were at the point of giving them a final yes, because I didn't feel like they were at a final yes, that this is the spot we want. So am I misunderstanding that? Because I thought we were waiting for them to make some decisions.
Darren was mostly talking with them and Greg, so I don't really know. I've never exchanged draft contracts with them or anything like that. I think that they're pretty comfortable today with proceeding forward with that polygon. I think they would be ready to move forward with that. But I've never, it's always kind of seemed like a little bit of a squishy moving target to a certain extent.
Okay, because I was going to say, when I talked with Darren, I thought that it was not done, that there were too many questions. And then second of all, if we're talking about moving fireworks to there instead of the golf course, the citizens love the golf course. They love the green, the coolness, being able to lay on it. I think that it would definitely have to go to the public before I agree that that's where we're going to start having 4th of July, because I wouldn't enjoy 4th of July there. And 4th of July in Page on the golf course is my all-time favorite thing to do. My family and friends know that. So I agree that this needs to go to planning and zoning, and feel strongly that we need to do something with this. There's been, just like Frost Park, there's been so many questions over the years about this. And I have been out there and I have walked around with a citizen. And so I do see the benefit for it to be Parks and Recreation, but I have too many questions now tonight that I would like to have answered before I can.
Councillor Hammond and then Councillor Preller.
I'd like to make a motion that we take this idea off the agenda and that we direct Planning and Zoning and Parks and Recreation to do their own analysis of this idea and bring us back a presentation at a future date.
And I'll make a second to that.
Okay. Did you have your hand up? I mean, Councillor Preller.
I was just gonna voice kind of my concern that if we are sort of committed with the Sedona crew on the Gray Polygon, and they committed to that with the understanding that they might get the amphitheater down the road. If we rezone this now, they might feel like they're getting like Rob.
There was never any commitment about the amphitheater.
They were looking
They just
for that.
constantly asked, but they've never been given that. No. Councillor Hettinger.
I don't love the idea of giving the amphitheater to the Sedona group, so I'm comfortable zoning this tonight. I'm going to vote no because I'm comfortable directing staff to come up with the parcel and take it through the planning and zoning process. And I understand that might mean that the Sedona group doesn't move forward, and I'm okay with that.
There are other options for them.
With that parcel, yeah. I'm fine with them not moving forward with that parcel.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councillor Hammond to repeat that again? To send this back?
Yes. In essence, my vote was my motion was to take this idea, this very rough idea, and direct both Planning and Zoning and Parks and Recreation to look at the idea, come up with a proposal and recommendation that we can then vote on at a future date.
In a second. Okay, any other further discussion? Anything from all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
No.
No.
Nays are Councillor Hettinger and Councillor Farrow. Okay. We have no future potential future agenda items. We have 2 executive sessions, 11-1, Republic Services Contract Extension, 11-2, Valco Property Purchase Agreement, Third Amendment.
If I may,
Yes.
just a little housekeeping. These are fairly, simple. I think they're both one-page agreements. We put them on as a potential executive session if you want to go into executive session. You don't have to go into executive session if you're good to move forward. For the first one, I know we have the folks from Republic Services that have been patiently waiting here. And that's on the public portion of the meeting, so the public can see that contract. It extends our current agreement for 5 years, so it would expire at the end of December 2030. And then at the city's election, we could elect to extend it for another 5 years at that time if we so desire.
So we already discussed this, and then this is just you coming back with
This is
with
me
the contract.
coming back. We put it on just to be safe in case council had questions about the terms, or if they wanted, if any council member had concerns about it, we could go talk about it. We don't have to go into executive session. If you are comfortable and don't have questions that should be discussed in private, then you could just make a motion now and move on. We don't have to go into
Let's
executive
focus
session.
on 11-1. I'm fine for staying in here. How about the rest of council?
Agreed.
Okay. Amanda, was that what your hand was for?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I was going to move that we stay in public session for
Okay.
both items.
So on item number 11-1, I'll entertain a motion. Councillor Farrow.
Move to approve the contract amendment with Republic Services and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second it.
We have a motion from Councillor Farrow. I didn't see who it was. Second from Councillor Roundtree. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Unanimous? I think there was no nays, was there? No. Okay.
Thank you.
That was a long meeting for you to get that little short thing. You had some good presentations to watch, so.
Thank you for the chapstick.
Okay. Item number 11.2, I'm
Thank
fine
you.
for staying in here on this one as well. How does the rest of council feel?
Agreed.
Agree.
I think everybody's fine to stay in here on 11.2. Valco Property Purchase Agreement, Third Amendment. Do you want to give us some?
So this would just extend their, this is down by, kind of between Whispering Sands Apartments and Highway 89 there. And it's for a Ford dealership, and they are ready to, I guess, getting really close to being able to submit their engineer drawings and whatnot to get a building permit. They still need a little bit of time. They've asked, I believe through the end of the year, I don't have it in front of me, whatever it is, they said that that would be more than enough time for them to get what they need submitted in order to move forward with their project.
Councillor Hammond.
So I actually have a question on this one, Josh. You and I have spoken about this before, and I believe that when we went back and retraced it, the prior extension was through May of 2025. Am I misremembering that?
You are not misremembering that.
Okay, so technically it's expired, so I don't even see how we can
We could
consider an extension at this point.
Well, and if we need to, that was the reason that we may need to go into executive session to get legal advice, to talk about some of those issues. So if you want to go into executive session and discuss some of those things, that would be my recommendation. I don't want to give you legal advice in public session.
Councillor.
I'm comfortable receiving that in public session, but I'm guessing some of my fellow councilors are not.
I'm not.
I'm not.
I'm not.
Yeah, I was just going to start a motion to go into e-sesh.
Okay, we have a motion to go into executive session for this item. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion from Councillor Preller, second from Councillor Farrow. All in favor of going into executive session, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, one nay. Okay.
Sorry, Amanda. See you in like 10 minutes.
It's all good.
Let's make this a quick
I
executive
just
session.
don't even.
Then we will
not-
return.
I remember correctly from exactly what she said. I don't understand why we could.
We're recording? Okay. Okay, we have returned from executive session. 11.2, Valco Property Purchase Agreement, Third Amendment. And simply to instruct city attorney to proceed as discussed and bring it back to us in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.
With that, I will close city council meeting. The time is 8:40. Thank